Okay, so I'm back at the fridge build. It's been a couple months since I've touched this thing. Been dealing with some family stuff, had to do with Christmas, and it has been really, really cold here in Michigan. So what I did was I moved it into my shed. I got a little heater running behind me. You can probably hear it. What I did was I took out that piece of tin that was covering the hole where the freezer box was. I just put a piece of sheet metal over it. Siliconed up some of the holes with some red high temp silicone, and once that solidifies and hardens, I will scrape that off with a razor blade so it's flush against the sidewall of the fridge. I got the chimney stack pretty much partially all, pretty much all the way in. I just got a little piece of sheet metal here to act as a support, and then I'll silicone that up, and then that's where the freezer box, the back of it is. It's siliconed in, so pretty much all set there. So I'll continue working on this once all this silicone dries up. Now for the cold smoke generator, this is it right here. I am going to install it on one of the sides. I haven't figured it out, so I just gotta pop a hole in for that, test run that, make sure it works. And as for the PID, the temperature control unit that I made, I took the freezer box out of the fridge. I took it out all in one piece. I'm going to attach it to the side of the fridge here, so it'll come, it'll come off the fridge and sit as a box. Not quite sure what side I'm going to put it on yet, but I took the little divider out from the top and the bottom of the freezer, so it's kind of like one open space, and I'm going to install the PID in there. It'll house all the cords, and then when I attach it, I'll just pop a hole in for the, the thermocouple and all that. But other than that, that's where I am, and I'm going to try to get this thing finished here in a couple weeks. So, okay, quick story time. It's story time right now. My daughter stopped by, and, I was showing her the fridge and what she thought of it so far. She said to me, and I know I raised her right, because we watch the barbecue shows all the time, the competitions, and I showed her the fridge, and I was hoping she'd say, wow, it looks pretty good. First thing she says out of her mouth, how are you going to regulate the heat with that little burner you got in there? And that was perfect. She didn't think about the fridge, how it looks. She just wanted to know how it was going to work. So let me explain that real quick. So this is the freezer that was in the fridge. Now what I'm planning on doing is mounting that to the side of the fridge right here, and it's going to house my PID that I made. About a year ago, I made this temperature controller for my charcoal smoker. It was hooked up to a little fan, a little USB fan, and I programmed the temperature on here, and it would turn the fan on whenever the temperature got below 250 or whatever it was, and it would stoke the fire, and once it got back up to the temperature I was looking for, the fan would shut off. Now, it's not anything spectacular. It's just a little ammo box that I got from Harbor Freight. The inside is wired correctly. I mean, I'm not going to explain everything on the wiring because it is kind of cramped in there, but you can YouTube it. There's a lot of videos. It's got a little static relay charge, or not a charge, but a solid state relay switch. And that's the PID I got off of Craigslist. I'm sorry, it was eBay for like $25, maybe less, I don't remember. It came with everything in there. And I just wired it up, and that seemed to work really good for the charcoal smoker. So I'm going to hook it up to that heating element right there, and it will turn on and off, and I will have a probe that comes through the side of the fridge, and it will, it should work perfect. Okay, here's my version of the cold smoke generator. Just a piece of aluminized car exhaust that I got from my local muffler shop for free. It was just a piece of scrap. Drilled a hole in the top. The one on the right is for the exhaust. The one on the left is for the air intake from my forced air pump, fish aquarium pump. Got a piece of perforated metal in the bottom, held with 2 screws so it stays in place. Got a little cap here for the bottom for the ash. Got a hole here for air intake. There's one on the other side for air intake. And I made a little cap just go on top of the pipe there. I'm going to fire it up, see how it works, and I'll hook it up to the fridge. So here's proof of concept for the smoke generator. It's hooked up to the little fish tank aquarium pump. What I did was I dropped a couple of briquettes that I lit in the chimney, put them in the bottom, let them burn and get nice and hot, put a couple, maybe a handful of hickory wood chips in the bottom, covered it up. I got a couple leaks I'm going to have to address. I'll just probably silicone those with the high temp silicone right around the edge there and get a better fitting lid because that's not really tight. But it's doing pretty good. It's on, I think it's on halfway now. Now it's on halfway. It's not too bad. It's cool to the touch. It's not super hot. So I will hook that up to the fridge and get this installed.